how much should your ad budget be? And how much do you need to actually spend on ads to get it to work? It's actually one of the biggest questions I get asked is how much should I spend on ads? And unfortunately, a lot of people haven't had the best experience when it comes to advertising online, whether that's through Facebook or Google or YouTube. In fact, for a lot of people, it feels like you're just burning money and wasting money. But it doesn't have to be that way, especially if you can answer some of these questions. So the first thing that you should know when it comes to deciding an advertising budget is, one, what does success look like for you? Like, if this campaign works the way you think it does, what happens? I remember I asked this question when I got started early in the agency. I had a potential client and they're like, hey, we want to create this really cool video ad. We saw one of your ads. We want to create one just like it. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what's the goal of the campaign? Like, what are we trying to do? I just want to get like 1 million views. I'm like, I can guarantee you 1 million views in a couple of days. No problem. Like, guaranteed. He's like, okay. I'm like, it's gonna cost 20 grand though. Oh, well, I don't know. Like, I'm like, so it's not about views, right? He's like, no. I'm like, well, what do you need? He's like, well, I really want like more leads and more people to fill out, like to work with. I'm like, got it. So that's the real issue. Like, that's the real goal is you don't just want views, you want some leads. Right? And that creates a whole different dynamic. And so I think it's just be honest, like, what does success look like for you? That's the step number one. Step number two is base your advertising budget around what's actually going to grow your business, right? So again, unless you're Coke or Pepsi, I wouldn't focus on impressions and number of views. In fact, I would pick 3 numbers. Maybe that's a certain number of leads. Maybe that's a certain number of phone calls or what your cost per phone call is. So find those 3 numbers and stick with that, because guess what? Revenue is a lagging indicator. Until you focus on those initial numbers, your revenue will just stay the same. So I would recommend, like, you should know your AOV, your average order value, and you should know your conversion rate. How many visitors to your website does it take before somebody purchases or before somebody comes a lead? And then you should also know what's your cost per visitor. And if you know those 3 numbers, like, those are the 3 laws of online marketing. If you know those 3 numbers, you can like guarantee a positive return on ad spend. You can say, I can spend 10 grand because I know I'm going to get 30 grand in sales. Let's just say this client knows that they are willing to spend $20 for a lead. And it's clear, like, she knows she can spend $20 because that lead is worth $60 because of she has a funnel and a system in place that can convert leads into clients based off her average order value and her conversion rate. So in this campaign, we've got video 1, we've got video 2, and we've got video 3. And we've got audience 1, audience 2, audience 3. So we've got 9 different campaigns here that we're running. And she knows her numbers. She knows I want to be at a $20 cost per lead. So we can look at video 1, audience 1. That's getting 19. Awesome. That's working. Let's keep that going. In fact, we may want to scale that up because it is working. You need to know your numbers, and again, your cost per customer or your cost per visitor or your, again, cost per lead, cost per acquisition, because then you can look at your dashboard and you can make better decisions. Is this campaign working? Yes or no? Is this audience or video working? Yes or no? And you can make the call. So to help you know your numbers, we've created this calculator, and it looks just like this. I call it the video ROAS calculator. And I'm just gonna walk through what this looks like. So as you can see here, if you know your average customer value, let's say it's 4,000 right here, the lead conversion rate, if your site converts visitors at a 15% conversion rate, meaning 15% of website visitors turn into a lead, and then if you know that 20% of those leads will book a call and 50% of those leads will show up, or sorry, those booked calls will show up. And then if you have a 40% close rate, like the people that you talk to on the phone, 40% of them enroll. This is where I know like our CPM matrix for YouTube, a $25 CPM, a 20% view rate, a 1% click-through rate. If you know those numbers, well then look, if we spend 10 grand on ads, we can see we're gonna get 600 apps or leads, a cost per lead around $16, 120 booked calls, 60 people show up, we'll get 24 new clients, and it's a cost to acquire a new client of 417 bucks. So we'll make 96K in revenue. That would be 81% in profit. If you have an agency and they're taking a 5%, like 15% of ad spend or a 5K, then you make, you subtract that, and now you have a 640% return on ad spend. If you don't know your numbers, if you don't know, hopefully you know what your average client value is or your average customer value is, but you may not know what your conversion rate is, and you may not know what your cost per visitor or what your cost per lead should be. And if you don't know those numbers, download our calculator. You can throw in some estimated conversion rates based off your sales funnel. You can play with the ad spend, how much you can spend, and you can even play with if your click-through rate changes, if your click-through rate goes up or down, how does this impact your cost per visitor or your cost per lead? So if you haven't already, check out the next video, because I talk about lead magnets that really work. Like if you need leads, check out this video, because we break down what type of lead magnets, the landing page do you need to implement to get more leads on your website. So check it out, and we'll see you on the next video.